Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/slash JustNoMil. In today's episode, MIL thinks she can dictate the amount of time other family members get to spend with my baby. Nomil invited herself to my family's very expensive beach vacation. Update: Nomil invited herself to my family's very expensive beach vacation. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. MIL thinks she can dictate the amount of time other family members get to spend with my baby. My husband and I live 2,000 miles from our families, and we typically alternate whose family we visit each summer because they are spread out over 3 states, and to see everyone in one visit would require a ridiculous amount of driving on our part. We have a 2-month-old baby and booked flights to my hometown so our families could meet the baby after he had his 2-month shots. We chose it because it is the most central location with an airport. We will stay with my mom for 2 nights, and during that time my friends can also come visit. Then we will be in an Airbnb for 3 nights so my dad and siblings and grandmother, 3-hour drive, my husband's grandparents, 2-hour drive, and my husband's parents and maybe one of his brothers, 5-hour drive, can come visit over the weekend as they are able. We planned this trip around the one weekend each summer that my in-laws closed their small business so they wouldn't have to lose revenue to see the baby. We also informed everyone when I was pregnant that anyone who wanted to meet the baby this summer would have to be vaccinated for COVID, and there would be no further discussion. My MIL and I used to have a decent relationship, but since I got pregnant and had the baby, we have barely spoken, and she has been snarky and rude to my husband when he declines unsolicited parenting and childcare advice and has become increasingly close to a full-fledged just no. Last night, out of the blue, my husband received the following text from his mom: "We will have the entire weekend with you guys. We're driving twice as far as her family. It's a day trip back and forth for them." End of conversation. He is an absolute champ and handled her beautifully, letting her know that she absolutely would not be speaking to him that way, would not be dictating anything about our trip, and she needs to watch out before she further damages her relationship with him. She of course played the victim, talking about how it was her summer with us, that she was conceding, and how I spend more time with my family and she misses us too. In the 6 years since we moved away, they have never come to visit us. They just expect us to spend our time and money on flights and boarding our dogs to see them. She would be so selfish to deny our baby what very well could be the only opportunity to meet their great-grandparents on both sides who are in their 80s and in poor health, and thinks she gets to decide how long and when everyone else gets to spend with the baby? That my 85-year-old grandmother who has had 2 strokes only gets to spend a couple hours with her great-grandchild before they turn around and drive 3 hours to get home? It took everything in me not to call her myself, but I'm glad DH was able to handle the situation so well, and we are 100% on the same page. She better get it together between now and August, or she will not be told the address of our Airbnb. End of conversation. Right? My husband and I have been saying random things to each other suddenly, followed with end of conversation. She's kind of right. There wasn't a conversation. She basically said, "What I say goes," and hubby told her, "Not happening." Get ready. This is not over. Your DH handled this like a champ. But, I promise you, this is not over. She will come when she wants and stay all day. She will make your family and friends uncomfortable. She will hog the baby. She will demand and pout and make this time all about her. So get ready. Practice telling her that it's time to go. Oh, it definitely isn't over, and I think it will be an awkward visit. The beauty of it is that she isn't a confrontational person, she only had the courage to type what she said. I have no issues telling her how things will be or going to grab the baby from her. She is a coward who will probably be pissy the whole time because I'm sure my family will be there at the same time. If you don't want DH's parents to have the address of the Airbnb, then you will have to think hard about whether you give it to anyone else he's related to. Because there's a risk that someone will decide on their own that the parents deserve to know it. Apart from that, I realize with the geographic location of your families it probably makes more sense for you, Opie, DH and baby to do the traveling, but I think it's still quite a concession to travel with a 2-month-old. Remind MIL about that if you need to. Good points. At this point it is worth it to us to travel so that our grandparents can meet the baby as they are elderly and not in the best health. DH definitely reminded her that we will be traveling with an infant during their conversation. Of course she continued to make herself out to be the victim. Everyone should drive or fly to you and stay in a hotel or Airbnb. You should stay home with your baby and relax. You are beyond generous for even doing this trip at all for the benefit of family. We flew with our 3-week-old in 2013 because literally our whole family is with 20 minutes of each other. My husband's mom lived 10 minutes away from parents. Also my husband's dad and my grandma were in bad health. My grandma died a few weeks later. It was worth it. It might be because of the grandparents. They likely aren't able to travel anymore, and she expressed how important it was for her grandma to meet the baby. The mill would be uninvited if it were me, but what can you do? LOL, she must have read something about being assertive to get what you want and went to town with it. Your husband is a boss. End of conversation. The funny part is she talks a big game over text or when complaining to others, but she would never say any of this over the phone even. He is totally a boss. Wish I read about more DHs like yours. If you were setting up to be a monster-in-law, would you give your son the proper tools to stand up to you? Bravo! You and your DH are the kind of couple we wish to see here in Reddit. True teamwork and partnership. Hope your August trip goes exactly as planned. All the best to you and your family. Buy recordable Hallmark books and have your grandparents and parents record one. My sister and I did that with my mom before she died, and our kids loved them when they were little. It's so nice having something with her voice. I love this idea, thank you. All I can say is be sure to grab plenty of pictures of Elo with the great-grands and plenty of copies to the J-Owns. Those will be treasured for life by everyone later on down the line. Yes, we will definitely be taking so many pictures. I treasure each visit with our grandparents. Nomil invited herself to my family's very expensive beach vacation. Every summer, my immediate family, mom, dad, brother, his 3 kids, myself and husband, get a beach house. Sometimes other family like aunts, uncles and cousins get adjoining houses. This year is no different. We're getting a house that is $11,000 for a week in July. We are all chipping in. MIL knew about this and the other day invited herself. At first she told DH she was going to get a hotel for the same week and do her own thing. Yeah, right. She's like 90% blind. So when she found out how expensive a hotel would be, she intimated to my DH to give her a room in our beach house. Granted, if we needed to shuffle some of the kids around, there would be an open bed. This all made my parents very uncomfortable as they don't know her very well at all, and she and I certainly don't have the best past relations. See my posting history. And we like to do our own close family thing, and not have to worry about someone we barely know being there. But what could we do? Can't say no, it would make for a really weird situation and worsen our relationship. Plus hurt my DH's feelings. Although she insists she doesn't want to impose. So at this point, she is coming. That is clear. So I'm not looking for a way out of it, but advice and I guess commiseration and ways to deal. There is also the matter of how much she should pay. My dad graciously said she didn't have to pay anything. But I think she should have to at least pay something, given she's bumping my niece and nephews out of their own rooms, and we all paid. Thanks for reading this far. Actually, the more I think about it, the more outrageous it seems to me that she is inserting herself into your family reunion. Your husband needs to understand that if he allows this, he is 100% responsible for all of her care and needs. You are spending time with your family, not catering to her. Perhaps an unpopular opinion, but if you bring along an unwanted, uninvited gatecrasher to someone else's expensive vacation, then you put her in your room and don't kick the kids out of theirs. They aren't the ones making the choice to allow this woman, you are. It's also your job to handle the uninvited person and their behavior so that nobody else is made uncomfortable, and either get all the money from her or pay for any shortfall yourself. It's bad enough to allow this woman to insert herself on your vacation, but that you would let her screw over your family like this and apparently expect them to subsidize her financially on top is really unacceptable. Your family is clearly trying to be polite about it, but I would be so majorly pissed if this was my vacation. Other people don't deserve to be inconvenienced because your husband is seemingly unable to say no to his mother and you are unable to say no to your spineless husband. Sorry, this became a rant. I feel bad for your family. $11,000 and how many months of work lovingly planning and coordinating this vacation, and this is how they get repaid. Tell hubby straight up that she needs to pay her fair share or stay home. I also would have no problem answering a "I don't want to impose" with "then why did you invite yourself?" Especially when she doesn't get along with anyone but DH. I would have no problem saying no. Suggest an alternative trip with her later. You've been posting for 6 years. You and so need to grow freaking spines and tell the woman no when she needs to be told no. This X1000. She can be told no. She is imposing and it's making other uncomfortable. She wasn't invited, she wasn't invited. You are not responsible for her feelings. If you were my kid or my sister, I would tell you flat out your MIL is not welcome to crash a vacation I paid for. Especially since she expects, and you expect, that you will boot your brother's children out of their room, then your brother has paid for, to make room for a mooch. No way in hell. And I would take matters into my own hands and tell your husband that either he calls his mother and tells her she wasn't invited in the first place, trying to crash someone else's vacation away from her is rude, and she is not displacing kids whose parents have paid for their room so her mooching ass can have a spot, or she can find out when you make him drive her home when she shows up uninvited. Because I promise you, your family is going to have problems with you now. And they will be deserved. You need to tell your husband his mother is not welcome to ruin your vacation, and if he insists, you will be more than happy to leave him home with mommy. You lost me at the part where you can't say no. Why? Did she know the dimensions of the house? Why couldn't you just say, "Sorry MIL, we didn't plan for you and there isn't room"? That would have saved you a lot of grief. BC, now you have to make her pay. BC, please God, don't let her ruin your vacation for free. And deal with her imposing on you for a week. You know she's going to ruin it as she and your parents won't be comfortable and your DH will probably do separate activities with her and miss out with your family stuff. Divide the cost by the number of adults and say she owes X amount. She's kicking other people out of their room. She needs to compensate for that. I don't see what the big deal is. She invited herself. She was not a part of this. You should have said no to start with. Honestly, if I was your parents or brother, I'd be pissed that you don't have the spine to say no to her and are letting her ruin everyone's extremely expensive vacation. And if she thought a hotel was expensive, her share of $11,000 can't be cheap, so just tell her it's what she owes to come with you and hopefully she'll back out. Also, consider for next time that letting her impose on your vacation in the first place was a mistake and you're only making your issues worse by letting her come. I think you need to handle this. This is your family vacation. You need to call your MIL and tell her DH misspoke. Your family is not comfortable with her coming as they do not know her well. Tell her she cannot come as things are arranged and you guys will see about time with her later this summer. Repeat no on a loop. Tell all of your family now to block her calls so they do not have to deal with her. Telling her she could come without consulting your family was rude on your DH's part. Your family is just trying to be nice at this point and sacrificing their vacation for a stranger. Stop telling her about trips, etc. Information diet. I will explore this. Update: JustNoMil invited herself to my family's very expensive beach vacation. Today, she let DH know that she can't come after all because $500 for the week was too expensive for her, even though she had previously agreed to it, but I guess she rethought it. And her doctor told her she shouldn't go on a vacation where she would be out in heat and sun due to a health issue, and she doesn't want to stay inside. So I guess that's that. I do feel bad for her, honestly. She's old and can't do a nice vacation, like, ever. Even though she invited herself in the first place. We, my mom and I, honestly feel relieved because we won't feel pressured to entertain someone we, my family, barely know. Also, my nephew, who is 14, is now bringing a friend, so it works out well there too because they will have the room. So this has become a pile-on because apparently I didn't do enough to spare my parents and family from this woman. I've admitted my guilt throughout the thread, but the admonishment continues. I take responsibility, people. I'm so beat down. I know I've hurt everybody, my family, and I admitting guilt here. So stop the pile-on, please. I would like to rephrase that. You should never have pressured your family to entertain someone they barely know. I agree. I'm glad it resolved itself without hurting anyone's feelings. And I don't have to be anyone's bad guy. I'd like to point out that while inviting herself was rude, this was never really a MIL problem. This was an so and you problem. One that MIL solved for you. I'm not sure either you or your spouse learned a thing. At least now your brother won't have his vacation tampered with by being told upon arrival his kids would be shoved out of their room. The fact that you made all these plans to accommodate MIL and intended to literally rob your brother of the vacation he paid for his family still blows my mind. Also your husband and you didn't have to say a simple no. MIL's doctor deserves a fruit basket for saving your relationship with your family. I don't think you had any intention to. How appalling. Some people who post here badly need a dressing down like this. Thank you for this. With all this advice, I finally see what my mistakes were in this, a lot. So after all of your last post's comments, you still were going to let your MIL invade your family's expensive vacation. Yikes. She didn't learn a thing. I feel bad for her parents and brother, to be honest. Imagine spending $11,000 to have an amazing beach getaway and her husband decide MIL should come. Gross. I'm glad things worked out, but I can't help but ask, you used MIL problem or so problem as your flair. Do you understand that it's also a you problem? You, so, and JNMIL are the just knows here. I'm not trying to be ugly, but there's no growth until we as people accept our personal responsibility. Enjoy your vacation. Do you understand that it's also a you problem? I'd say it's mainly a her problem. Good thing she can't go. Your poor family didn't deserve to have their vacation ruined because you and your husband couldn't have one single uncomfortable conversation. Like others have said, you created this problem and you got lucky it worked itself out. I hope you take this as a lesson for future issues because you might not get so lucky next time. Happy this worked out, but it sounds like you and your so need to have a serious conversation about boundaries. What is and isn't acceptable behavior from your MIL? Whose responsibility is it to set those boundaries and enforce them? Some couples counseling might help to get on the same page about this. Either way, this problem isn't going to just go away. It's time to handle it. I'm delighted this is resolved, but you must put on your big girl pants and make sure this never happens again. If you haven't shown your husband your post and the comments, you should. Both of you need to be more considerate of your family. So in the future don't tell your MIL about these vacations so she won't know and can't invite herself. Exactly. She's fishing for an offer to pay for her, and or for you to all go somewhere less hot and sunny. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.